And now, on with the show.
What's up, son?
We all sat there watching Aesop try his best to teach a simple lesson.
Swept up the loot.
And you just had to ruin it with a jackhammer and a terrible pun every single time.
Familiarity breeds contempt of court.
And a habeas corpus to you too, son.
It was stressful watching a father fail that hard. And here's what I don't get. A Hollywood legend voiced Aesop and got zero credit for it.
You, Pop, will go down in history as
Yes, Junior.
superfluous.
Well, thank you, Junior. That was...
The puns were designed to murder morals on purpose.
The years caused him to spend the best years of his life.
This show trained us to be cynical, and we didn't even notice. Number 22. Okay, so picture is, Aesop is carefully chiseling his name into stone, letter by letter, focused and professional, like a real craftsman. Then Junior shows up with a jackhammer and just blasts "and son" onto it in a massive dust cloud like he owns the place. I honestly thought that was just a funny intro gag when I was a kid, but it turns out that's the entire show's philosophy compressed into 10 seconds. Junior doesn't earn his place on that sign, he forces his way onto the brand with industrial equipment. It's funny because every family business has this exact tension, and they just put it right there. And here's what I don't get. Why didn't they need words to explain any of this? Number 21. The chisel versus jackhammer bit sells the whole formula visually without a single line of dialogue. You watch Aesop work slowly and carefully, then you watch Junior destroy it in 2 seconds, and you immediately understand the entire show. Dad tries, son wrecks it. Every episode. I used to think cartoons needed narrators to set things up, but this opening is a masterclass in visual storytelling. No explanation, just one perfect image that tells you exactly what kind of comedy you're about to suffer through. The contrast burns into your brain. Chisel versus jackhammer, slow versus fast, respect versus absolute chaos. But wait, here's the part that messed me up when I learned it recently.
That was the last that was ever seen of the two bears. He who plays with fire kindles disaster.
Number 20. I honestly thought Aesop was supposed to be some wise narrator voice telling us stories from the clouds. Nope, this show makes him an on-screen character, a frustrated, exhausted dad standing right there watching his kid ignore everything he says in real time. He's not teaching us anything. He's trying desperately to teach Junior, and Junior refuses to learn a single thing. That completely changes the show's DNA. The generational conflict becomes the entire joke, and the fable is just the arena where they fight. Aesop loses every single time, and we had to watch it happen over and over again throughout our childhoods. And Junior made absolutely sure every moral got completely destroyed.
The coyote and the jackrabbits. Most rabbits are so poor, but Hasty J Rabbit is not most rabbits.
Number 19. Every episode follows the exact same ritual, and it never stops being painful to watch. Aesop tells the fable sincerely, delivers the moral because he genuinely believes this ancient wisdom matters. Then Junior immediately twists it into the worst possible pun and walks away proud, having learned absolutely nothing. Here's what I don't get. The writers engineered this betrayal into every single episode on purpose. The moral isn't the punchline. The destruction of the moral is the punchline. We've all been Junior at some point, ignoring genuinely good advice just to make a stupid joke instead. And this show called us out for it relentlessly. Seriously, why did the show have to be this mean on purpose?
What are you talking? I'm the one that needs our help. Why didn't you tell me?
Number 18. Same basic DNA as Fractured Fairy Tales, but the writers specifically made it meaner and more aggressive. Fractured Fairy Tales spoofed magic and adventure. Fun stuff. Aesop and Son spoofed ethics and morality. Heavy stuff. Both shows twist classic stories, but Aesop gets to be crueler because fables are already preachy lectures by design. You're not just mocking a fun story, you're mocking the entire concept of teaching virtue to children. That's a way darker target. Fractured Fairy Tales feels playful. Aesop and Son feels like it's personally attacking your third-grade teacher who tried to make you a better person. And they didn't even give it original music, because apparently budget mattered more than identity.
I bet I get a ringer the first time. Whoops.
Number 17. Jay Ward's team didn't bother writing new music for this segment. They just copied the same jaunty circus theme from Fractured Fairy Tales and slapped it onto Aesop and Son instead. I honestly thought each segment had its own unique soundtrack when I was a kid, but turns out they just recycled everything for efficiency. It works though, because that music creates instant brand recognition. You hear those playful notes, and your brain immediately knows it's time for the spoof segment where nothing is sacred. It's Pavlovian conditioning through sound. The theme music becomes the audio warning that a moral lesson is about to get murdered. And the voices? Here's where it gets actually offensive.
My Favorite Gold Mines by Marilyn Monroe. Where'd you get this?
I bought it off a rag peddler.
Number 16, uncredited. So Charlie Ruggles, an actual Hollywood actor with a decades-long film career, voices Aesop and gets absolutely zero credit for it. None. His name doesn't appear anywhere. I honestly thought voice actors back then just weren't famous enough to credit, but Ruggles was a working movie star doing legitimate film work. This wasn't some nobody. The studio couldn't even put his name on the screen. That is just cold. Voice actors were completely invisible in 1960s animation. They did all the creative work while studios took all the glory. Ruggles gave Aesop that perfect, exhausted parent voice, and for decades, nobody knew who to thank. But Junior's voice? Oh, you definitely know Junior's voice from somewhere else.
Oddly enough, by nightfall, both bears returned from their missions, flushed with victory.
Bear number 2.
Number 15. Junior is voiced by Dawes Butler, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, his voice absolutely lives in your childhood brain. Dawes Butler is Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw McGraw, Snagglepuss, every single bratty cartoon character you loved growing up. He's one of the greatest voice actors in animation history, and he brought that exact same talent to Junior's smug, pun-obsessed personality. Butler specialized in characters with major attitude problems, and Junior is nothing but pure distilled attitude. Without Butler's performance, Junior is just annoying. With Butler, Junior becomes iconic, despite being objectively terrible as a person and a son. And he was just one small part of an absolutely ridiculous voice lineup.
At the sound of the bell, the faithful servant grabbed a section of a nearby cactus, swung.
Number 14. Because Aesop and Son existed inside Rocky and Bullwinkle, this tiny 5-minute segment got access to some of the greatest voice actors who ever lived. June Foray doing Rocky and Natasha, Bill Scott doing Bullwinkle, Paul Frees doing Boris Badenoff, and literally dozens of other characters. These are Hall of Fame talents working at the absolute peak of their powers, and Aesop and Son just got to ride that wave of quality for free. Good writing with bad voices dies immediately. Good writing with legendary voices becomes immortal and plays in syndication for 60 years straight. This show understood that truth completely. And the records kept for this show are honestly kind of creepy in their detail.
My name going down in history alongside of such immortals as Shakespeare, Dante, Balzac,
Alfred E. Newman.
Number 13. Fan databases for this show document every single microscopic detail with a level of precision that borders on genuinely insane. They don't just list episode titles like normal human beings. They list every single background character that appears, even ones with 0 lines who show up for 2 seconds. We know exactly who voiced Third Mouse in a random episode that aired once in 1960 and was never referenced again. That level of obsessive documentation is usually reserved for massive cultural phenomena like Star Wars. But here it is, applied to a 5-minute Fable spoof that most people don't even remember existed at all. And some of those preserved details make absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and how are we today?
We are hot.
Number 12. In the episode The Mice and Council, the official cast list credits a character called Ice Cream Vendor. Just let that marinate for a second. An ice cream vendor at a council meeting of mice discussing serious mouse politics. Seriously, why does a formal council of mice debating important rodent governance need an ice cream vendor present in the room? Nobody knows, but someone animated that character, someone voiced that character, and someone made absolutely certain that character got permanently written into the official database 60 years later. This is why I love animation history. It's beautiful and completely unhinged at the exact same time. And speaking of things that don't make sense, they literally ran out of real fables.
Both of them were barefaced liars, for although they took a different route, they arrived at the king's castle at the...
Number 11. The writers burned through every single classic Aesop fable, and then just started making up completely new animal combinations from scratch. Episode titles get progressively weirder. The Lion and the Aardvark, the Fox and the Minx, the Canary and the Musical Hares. Wait, what? These aren't traditional stories that survived for 2,000 years. These are just the writers throwing random animals into a room together to see what puns would emerge from the chaos. The show stopped adapting ancient wisdom and started creating its own bizarre animal universe, where anything goes as long as it leads to a pun somewhere. But they still kept going back to recycle the same famous stories over and over.
Don't forget to wash behind the ears, neighbor.
Number 10. When they weren't inventing random animal mashups, they just kept remaking the most famous fables with slightly different angles every time. You get multiple versions of the Hare and the Tortoise and the Hare and the Hound scattered throughout the entire run. The Tortoise and the Hare is literally the most famous fable in human history, and this show did it more than once because audience recognition was the entire point. You can't effectively subvert a story if your audience doesn't know it exists. The deeper the cultural memory, the harder the comedy lands when you twist it into something else. And here's the really cynical part that messed me up. The puns came first.
Years ago, when vaudeville was in its heyday, a certain fox named Foxini the Great toured the hinterlands as a magician.
Number 9. The writers didn't write a meaningful fable story and then add a clever joke at the end. They started with the terrible pun first, then built an entire 5-minute fable backward to justify that one stupid punchline. They'd sit in a room, think of the absolute worst possible pun related to any moral lesson, and then construct a complete story that led inevitably to that groan. The entire fable exists only as scaffolding to support one dad joke. It's formula comedy taken to its most extreme conclusion. The pun isn't dessert, it's the entire meal, and everything else is just the plate they serve it on. And this wasn't even supposed to be a real show in the first place.
King Leo and his knights took their places around the round table.
Whose deal is it?
Number 8. Aesop and Son was never designed to exist as an independent series you could watch by itself. It was engineered specifically as a break segment inside the Rocky and Bullwinkle variety format, like a palate cleanser between courses at a restaurant. The main show hits you with a cliffhanger, then you get 5 minutes of Aesop and Son, then maybe Peabody's Time Machine, then back to Rocky and Boris for more spy drama. The modular structure kept everything feeling fresh and prevented audience fatigue. Aesop and Son's entire purpose was giving you 5 minutes of simple, mean-spirited comedy before diving back into serialized adventure. And the episode length wasn't random, it was scientifically calculated.
You got an old fable to go with that too?
Not so old, I just made it up.
Number 7. These shorts are exactly 5 minutes long, which is absolutely perfect for 1960s television pacing and commercial break structure. 5 minutes is short enough that you physically cannot get bored even if the specific joke doesn't land for you. Long enough that you can tell a complete story with proper setup and punchline. Aesop explains the fable, Junior ruins it. Done. Zero padding. The format forced absolutely brutal economy in the writing room. Every single line had to justify its existence or it got deleted. I honestly thought modern cartoons were better because they're longer, but tight 5-minute comedy beats loose 22-minute comedy every time. But the total number of episodes is so weirdly specific it bothers me.
You'd better get going, or you'll never slay that ogre.
Sorry, Your Cleanliness.
Number 6. The show produced exactly 39 episodes total and then just stopped. Forever. Not 40, which would be a satisfying round number. Not 50, which would feel complete. Just 39 episodes and then the entire machine shut down permanently. Seriously, why? Nobody knows the real reason they stopped at that specific odd number. Maybe they legitimately ran out of fables and puns to spoof. Maybe the budget dried up. Maybe Junior's terrible wordplay finally killed Aesop for real. Whatever the actual reason, the show ended at 39, and that was it forever. It's just the random, arbitrary point where production stopped completely. And that weirdly small number actually saved the show from complete obscurity.
And so you see, Junior, a fool and his money are soon parted.
I got a better.
Number 5. Because the segments were short and completely unconnected to each other narratively, local TV stations absolutely love them for syndication purposes. They could slot an Aesop and Son episode literally anywhere in their broadcast schedule without any context needed. Movie ran 5 minutes short? Play an Aesop cartoon. News broadcast got delayed? Play an Aesop cartoon. Need random filler before the next scheduled program starts? Play an Aesop cartoon. Being disposable filler content is actually what kept this show alive and continuously airing for literal decades after production permanently ended. 39 episodes somehow stretched across 40 years of continuous airtime because they were useful tools, not because anyone loved them. And most of those episodes came from one extremely specific production year.
You're late, Elk. The picnic ended 2 hours ago.
Number 4. Database records show a massive chunk of episodes are all dated 1962, revealing what was clearly a desperate production sprint right at the end. The show didn't produce content evenly across its run. It had this concentrated burst of activity right before everything stopped forever. Maybe the writers suddenly got creatively hot and cranked out material at superhuman speed. Maybe the studio pushed hard to fulfill contractual obligations before cancellation. Either way, 1962 was obviously crunch time. They knew the clock was running out, so they burned through remaining fables like they were racing against a deadline they could see approaching fast while the budget disappeared. And all of this existed because of one man's creative empire.
Well, we might as well pack our things and go back east.
Oh, let's not be hasty.
Number 3. This wasn't some desperate side project thrown together by a struggling studio trying to fill airtime. It was a core strategic part of Jay Ward's early 1960s animation empire and shared creative DNA with all his other successful properties. Same visual style as Rocky and Bullwinkle. Same sharp, subversive writing as George of the Jungle. Same cultural references and refusal to talk down to children as Dudley Do-Right. Jay Ward understood something fundamental. Variety keeps audiences engaged far better than repetition ever will. So Ward built this content factory that produced multiple segments with completely different flavors, but the exact same underlying philosophy: smart, subversive cartoons. And the title itself reveals the entire creative strategy in 3 words.
Burned to the ground. How did it happen?
Well, I was playing house and I lit a fire in the fireplace.
There wasn't any fireplace in that playhouse, son.
Number 2. The addition of and Son to the title isn't just cute branding, it's literally the entire conflict and comedy engine that makes the show function. Original Aesop's fables are monologues, one authoritative voice delivering wisdom to a passive audience that's supposed to absorb it quietly. This show deliberately turned them into dialogues by adding someone to actively argue with that wisdom in real time. By adding the Son character, they added someone to question, mock, and systematically undermine everything Aesop says. Without and Son, you just have another forgettable Aesop adaptation. With and Son, you have weaponized generational conflict compressed into 5-minute comedy segments. And here's the saddest part that I honestly wasn't ready for when I learned it. Number 1. It comes with a heavy heart to say this, but the real legacy of Aesop and Son isn't the animation quality or the legendary voice acting. It's the attitude it permanently installed in an entire generation of children's brains. The show taught us that authority figures like Aesop could be completely wrong about everything. That ancient wisdom passed down for thousands of years could be boring and worth mocking. That a clever pun is objectively more valuable than any moral lesson. While other shows taught kids to respect elders, Aesop and Son taught us that rules are negotiable and being funny matters more than being good.